Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freebird Spirit YouTube channel. Thank you for swinging by and hanging out for a little bit as we do Love is the Wisdom Behind.
Love is the wisdom beyond.
Beyond, or but behind awakening. And the series of talks that Chris and I and discussions that Chris and I have been doing, and we are on discussion 35. Yep. And thank you for being with us during these discussions. And if you're just joining now, we encourage you, there's no time or timeline for these. They're discussions that are kind of spurred on by our team, spirit team. And so we just kind of go along with what is being kind of poked at us to talk about. So welcome. And so today we are talking about the family. What does the family look like? What does family look like? What's your narrative? What has been told you that family is, and what family is not? Or what's the perfect family look like? What does the perfect family feel like? All those things. What are those? We're going to take a look at that and destroy it for you. So, yeah. Chris, how did this come into play for you? When did you start dissecting this? Tell us a little bit about that. I feel like you have that you've written about it, right? But I mean, when did you tell us your story about this?
Oh, God almighty. That's a big topic.
I know.
Yeah.
But you can pick and choose, right?
Well, the work of a sociologist is to know about these things, right? So part of that's what drew me to sociology in the first place. But I grew up in a family where my parents were survivors of the Depression and World War II. And my father's brother walked across Germany in the Death March in Nazi Germany, and my father was a pilot of B-17s, and he got tricked into bombing Dresden, and we didn't know about that until the end of his life. And while he was in Europe, in England, the only woman this is his words, the only woman he really respected is the woman I'm named after, who was his grandfather's second wife, Margaret. And she died while he was in England. So he came back briefly, and then he went right back again. But his mom and dad divorced, and his grandfather, the person who was married to Margaret, he took the oldest boy and put him with his grandmother to take care of her. He took my father and put him in his own house, and their mother kept the youngest guy. So it was really very messy for the 40s, to do that kind of thing. And she was having an affair, which made it even more difficult. And his father was also really poor, so he couldn't really support the kids. And it's coming out of the Depression that led into World War II. So families were very stressed. At the same time, my mom, who grew up in Canada, to a pastor, her father was a pastor, and her mom had 8 kids at least. I'm guessing there's miscarriages probably in there somewhere. She died of esophageal cancer, and she had a long illness. So my mom used to sleep in the same bedroom with her parents, and her mother died while she was doing that, and they rushed her out of the bedroom and took her upstairs, and when she came back downstairs the next morning, her mom was dead in the bed, and they had put, in the old days, they put coins in their eyes at the same time. So and then she was passed around because she was the youngest. So, all the siblings were anywhere up into their 20s. So here's two people who survived the Depression and World War II and these families. Right now, the belief system about families is just that. It's a belief system. It's not real. We all think it's real. It's like the T-shirt that said, it shows a guy, one guy sitting in an auditorium with all the seats in the auditorium empty, and it's the conference for functional families, and he's the only one who's there. So we've bought this belief system that there is the only way to be normal is to have this family, and so anyone who doesn't fit that model thinks of themselves as not enough, not okay. And what we've talked about with your history and with everybody I know's history, where the moms die young. Who just told me this? That their mother was 20. Oh, it was the woman who's been coming in here, the home healthcare worker. Her mother died at 23 with 6 kids.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you have to wonder about, 23.
23, 6 kids.
20. Well, listen to this story. 23, she had pneumonia. Really? 23, pneumonia? Okay. But she's probably running ragged, taking care of 6 kids, right? His mother, the guy she's with, his mother takes the 6 kids in instead of splitting them up like, my other friends' parents died and they all got separated. She would feed them their food and get them ready for school the next day, every night. But that's not enough, because their cousins had the same situation. She was taking care of 14 kids.
Holy cow.
Every night. And I'm thinking, I said to her, well, that must have been quite a funeral when she left. And she said, oh yeah. It's the only parenting they really knew. So, I think that's the myth, is that these are unusual stories. But the fact that there are so many like them means that they're really the normal story.
Right.
That it takes a lot. And I mean, because of the family that comes in and watches you on a regular basis, they've told their stories, right? How many different people have you encountered who lost a kid or, lost a parent or whatever? So it's I think it's the norm. It's not the norm that the family is perfect. It's not the norm that they get married forever and the kids just grow up all happy and they go off into, wonderful careers. It's just not the norm.
Right. And so, but starting from the very beginning, you have books and stories and nowadays, TV shows or whatever that shows this family, right? So back in the day, you had Leave It to Beaver and those types of things.
Father knows best.
Father knows best, and all this very patriarchal, influenced family that we are being told every day. This is what it needs to look like. This is what it feels like. This is, like that whole thing. And if it doesn't fit this,
right,
then you're broken.
Right.
So then the story becomes, I'm broken. Right. So you can see how, and so really, it's just another one of those situations, Chris, that the narrative needs to be changed. And the truth is, what is the truth here? Families are fluid. It can it ranges so many ways that a family is, or that unit, the family, that what we use the word family for, that unit coming together to support one another one way or another, sharing that love and that space. But it's fluid. I think it's very different. And so when you have children of divorce and they are told, oh, you're from a broken home, what message are you giving?
Yeah.
They grow up thinking, I'm from a broken home, I'm lacking, I'm broken. And that's the foundation you're giving them? No, it needs to change. Families look very different, and they can really work well, fluidly, and very different than that patriarchal influenced story that we've been told and pushed down our throat this whole time.
Right. And I'm so reminded of what we talked about last time when we talked about the gospel according to Mary and the quote, every nature, every modeled form, which is another way of saying social construction, every creature exists in and with each other. So instead of us looking down at people whose families didn't fit the dominant model, we just say, oh, you got 2 moms? Oh, you got 5 grandmothers? Oh, that's pretty cool. It's, instead of, I'm reminded of a story, which is not a good story, but my sister's first marriage ended, and her ex-husband had left town for a couple of years. While he was gone, my oldest nephew was in class, and it was Father's Day. She took the kids who didn't have fathers and put them in a separate space while the other kids made something to say Happy Father's Day to their father. So he was traumatized.
Yeah.
He was singled out. And I mean, that's what we do with these social constructions. They're not real. They're just not real. What is it that Yeshua said? Remember that thing we said last week? Yeshua said, when
you remember something.
I love it. was when he said, where is it? If the people who rule are the ones who are telling you what the laws are, and it's not the same laws that I've laid out, then you shouldn't be following them because they're about to dominate you. That's me paraphrasing.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So it's important to understand, and I think that's one of the reasons I was so drawn to sociology, was that if you have a mindset we've created a social world that has order to it, right? And we wanted to have order to it because the chaos would be crazy. And of course, we're living with a lot of chaos right now. But while we participate in that, the rules are made, the social construction of the terms those rules are made, and we comply. We don't have to comply, but we comply. This is separate from the law, right? So it's sort of like what we were talking about earlier when I said, all the brides wear white.
Right.
We're complying. They don't even know why they're wearing white, because somebody says to them, you're going to be beautiful. It's like, you were beautiful anyway. You were beautiful if you had mud all over your face. What are we buying here? So this package is really socially kind of created to create a particular kind of order. And in that order is where the hidden agenda is.
Thank you. Creating a particular order.
Yeah. And I mean, there were sociologists in the 19th century who made it their life's work to figure out what keeps that social order together. How do people come to comply? Why is it not just anarchy everywhere? And So we're always going to sort of create our social world. The unfortunate part is that part of that creation is the belief that that we can't create our social world, that somebody else has created it for us and we just have to comply. Right. So that's where the trick is. And there's a word for that. We have two choices. We can either have a government that makes us comply because they've got a military and they've got police force and they've got guns, or they can do it with our consent. So the word is hegemony. They can do it with our consent, and we live in a social world that's totally focused on getting our consent to the dominant system. Right. So if you think just following the rules is going to get you out of that, no, it's not. You're consenting to. I used to say this all the time to students. You're consenting to there being order in the classroom. You're not sitting on your desks. You're not throwing things at each other. You're not, throwing things at me. You're consenting to the order this is in. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what we've done with this idea of family. And I think what you brought up is the damage it does to young people, to internalize, I'm not okay, I'm not good,
I'm lacking.
And of course, you don't even know all the other kids' family stories.
Right.
They're not telling them. They're not saying, every night I come home and my father's drunk. They're not saying, I'm an incest survivor. They're not telling any of this stuff.
Exactly.
So you don't really know. And we're not creating the spaces that are so open and understanding and allow people to just have their lives and not be judged.
Exactly. And so how do we change this particular order? This idea that we need this particular order and that's what's whole and complete and right. How do we release that to acknowledging that or stepping into that these type of that family is fluid. I do believe it's happening, but I mean, is there something we can do or no, or just talking about it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, the piece that comes out of some of the other conversations we've had is about how what we think is what we're creating. Even to just think it. If you are just in the energy of inclusion and positivity and acceptance and all of that, whenever you encounter the rigidity, you just think, no, I'm gonna do it differently. I'm gonna think differently. I'm not gonna let myself go into that. That's what happened last night when a friend came over. She was all caught up in negativity about herself. And I was able to say to her, the more you think about the negativity about yourself, the more you create a world that thinks negativity about people when they've done things that should be negative about. So it got her. She was like, oh, I said, you are right now creating the world that we're all trying to resist. So, that's, I think, just the fact that we're talking about this is
exactly. And I like that, Chris. And we address it first in the way that we are thinking. And recognizing, okay, where do I have these constructs? Where have I created these particular orders, things? Where have I created this in my own thoughts, or what has been told me that I need to release that story and step into the fluidity of what family is, opening that up, being aware, And that in itself creates the vibrational change that needs to happen to kind of spread this out. And you see what happens is that patriarchal system, that order starts to fight back. And we see that playing out, trying to take, we're seeing it playing out right now in our nation on so many levels of that fight to hold on to the structure. But if we continue to step into the energy of, no, that's not the story. That's not the real story. That's not real. That's not reality. It never has been. Like you said, you're like,
Right.
I look back over and I actually, none of my friends came from a perfect or my parents, you know what I mean?
Pick the model of the nuclear family. It's really what it is.
Right.
As if, right?
It's rare. That is more the rare than the reality of what's really there. And so, I just think it's so important, and especially if we are aware of this, if you know people that have come, that have small children, and they are parents doing it on their own or whatever, single parents, if you will, to really celebrate with them instead of making it that's, oh, you're a single parent. Oh, we don't
resource it.
I understand.
Parents don't get resourced.
Right.
The whole sort of welfare system, the food stamp system is not okay around supporting people who are trying to make.
So but you have this story going, but what if it's like, wow, this is awesome. You're this whole ability to be a parent, and you have these beautiful children, teaching the children that they're not from a broken family or that they're lacking just because they have a one parent. So changing that whole story for them is going to really help as generations go. We need to start changing the books that are read for these families. This isn't broken. This isn't lacking. This is just we're just having this beautiful different life, and everybody's life is unique unto themselves. It doesn't make it wrong or right or whatever. It just is, and it's uniquely yours, and you're thriving and you're whole and complete within that life. Always. So how do we need to, let's start writing some children's books. Let's get the word out that, this is beautiful. The modern family looks completely, is completely different than the patriarchal stuff that we've been pushed down our throats with Leave It to Beaver and
it's the marriage thing too,
and the marriage thing.
That we have to have the state involved in our relationships. And in the 19th century, women and children were the property of men in marriage.
Right.
And that evolved into, some suffragists did a lot of fighting to get that women were able to have their own property. And that wasn't until the middle of the century. And then marital rape was still legal right up until recent years. And in some states, it's still an issue. But it's, it's really understanding that according to marriage laws in the various states, there are certain things that are acceptable and they're oppressive.
Yes.
So, what was the other thing that you said about? Well, it was just mostly about why do we need marriage law? And I can hear people reacting already. I can hear him saying, well, because we got to protect the children. No, you got to protect the children, but you don't have to have marriage law to do it.
Right.
You have to have child support laws to do it. That's all you really need. You conceive this child, you're responsible. That's the end of the topic. Well, what about when there's a divorce? How do we split things up? Well, same way that people who've been in same-sex relationships forever, I think I thought about this years ago, that if only this heterosexual culture could take a look at long-term same-sex relationships and see how they've done it, they wouldn't need marriage anymore. So it's like we've decided that you get benefits on the basis of whether you are married, whether you're still married, and then we get an investment in how we manage to stop it, how we manage to break them up. But yeah, it used to make me crazy. I'd sit next to people at work, and the woman next to me would get like past benefits at the airlines for her parents, for her husband, and for her kids. So she might get like 6, right, benefits. I'd get my parents. I'd have 2. It's like, yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But that's a marriage thing, and it gets used as a wedge to sort of make the family model stand up. So
yes, exactly. It's part of their it's in their toolbox or whatever, to keep that patriarchal hold, and it's just set up for so much abuse and control, and anyways, we need to change that ruling. I do want to say that ever since you talked about Yeshua, Yeshua has been here. And I think it's why I can't think very well right now. And because my head's numb. Whenever he's here, my head goes numb, tingly numb, and it gets really, I don't know, I can't even describe the atmosphere. So if you have any questions.
Well, does he have anything to say? Why is he here?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can ask him, but I mean, he came in when you said something about Yeshua. You said Yeshua's quote. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
And that's when he came in.
Yeah.
I just can't describe. I wish I could describe to everyone the amount of, again, it's the same every time. Whenever he comes in, my head goes numb. It tingles, like I can't feel my crown chakra. Like the crown chakra area is just tingly.
So here's the quote.
Okay.
Go then, preach the good news about the realm. Do not lay down any rule beyond what I determined for you, nor promulgate law like the lawgiver, or else you might be dominated by it. So
he's saying the dominators are dominated by their own domination. And so it gets caught up in this. It's very much it's very much caught up in like this cycle that it's very much where you're just circling, chasing your own tail type of feel to this. He's using the devil here. And so I want to be careful about using the devil here, because the devil is where you're your own worst enemy here, and that's what's happening in this domination thing. That's your devil. Using language that I would understand here. Thank you. You create things to protect yourself, your ego, protection in general. And it becomes your jail. It becomes your straitjacket. It becomes your, it becomes what locks you in. The suffering, it becomes your prison. So what you create, what you create to be your beliefs, I guess it would be the word beliefs here. They become your prison. There's a sense of sadness here with it, with what he's bringing in with this. And I'm so sorry. I'm so like, all of a sudden I'm just super heavy, like that the frequency here is just super. It's like, I just want to rest right now. I just want to lay my head down and just allow this energy to be, because it's so, it's love. It's love. And that's his message, of course, is always that is love, right? And coming from that space always, that really will answer a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for him?
I'm actually feeling it too.
Right? I mean, it is.
Yeah, what I'm feeling is that these structures that we've created that have been dominating, when people are sort of in their own prison, that they're actually harming other people.
They're harming others and themselves.
Yes. So it's not just them, it's they're harming other people, and they're holding other people down, and they're hurting other people. And that's what I think that's where the love energy comes into connection with what's sad. I'm so reminded of what Mother Teresa said to us a couple weeks ago. But these are people who are very aware of how this stuff doesn't work, and try to communicate to us that there's another way of being. And no wonder you're getting the sadness. So what do we do?
Love one another. It's simple. It's simple. You make it more difficult than it really is. More complicated. It's very simple to love and celebrate others. Recognize their unique, beautiful colors and abilities. It's simple. Stop making it so complicated. The complication came in when people felt out of control and wanted to bring structure. Control and structure. It turned to poison in the land that spread. It's false to believe that love can be stomped out, that truth can be stomped out. That's false. Love will always prevail. Love always prevails. That's the truth. I feel like a lot of things that he's kind of bringing in here, it has to do with, again, what our narratives, what we've been told or what we believed.
Yeah.
What has been pressed on us. But even though the oppression, we still come out above it. We still are a vessel of love and light. We are that. We just are. And
how many times have you heard people say, I got lost for a while, but now I'm back. I'm being a loving. I think that's because that's where we came from and that's where we're going to. And we, on some level, we remember. And we're in this life because we've been given a chance to be in this life and to, as you would say, take the opportunity and make it work. But
what I'm hearing here is what are we giving permission to in our lives? Are we giving permission to negativity? Are you giving, or are you, what are you giving permission to connect into your energies? Beware of what you are giving permission to be a part of your energy. And not that I'm not sensing anything here about right or wrong. It's just being aware of what you're it's okay, but what are you giving permission to? Just be aware of that.
Love is the wisdom behind awakening.
Love is the wisdom behind awakening.
Yes.
Whew. Mm. So anybody that's watching right now, I just want you to know that the most loving being right now is just reaching out and sharing his love and light to you, enveloping you, taking anything that no longer serves you or benefits you or your body or your mind, spirit, taking that from you and just releasing more and more of that white light and love that you can experience and feel that deeper healing. He's bringing that in for all of those here, anyone who comes and watches this. Powerful. Thank you. Holy cow.
Yeah.
My,
Is he,
my head, is it still here?
has he left you?
I mean, it's he just very present, but he didn't want to leave with that. Like he was wanting to share that. So, mhm.
How do we follow that?
I know there's nothing else to say here
Right.
except we love you and thank you for being in this conversation with us. But we do want to just leave you with that and just stay in the presence of Yeshua, if you wish, and the energy of pure love. And if you want to go ahead and surrender that, those things that no longer serve you, do. He's right here. But we love you. And Chris, thank you again for hanging out and doing these conversations, and to the family here too. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Talk to us.
I am so grateful.
Grateful for the comments and the continued discussion. Love and light to you all.
Love you all.
Bye.